Hey everyone! Before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button, share this story with your friends, and subscribe if you love crazy, true-to-life drama with a twist you won't see coming. Tonight, we follow Lena, a teen girl so excited to attend the ultimate Halloween cosplay party. But when a group of bullies ruins her night, little do they know, her father can make anyone regret messing with her. You're about to see how a bullied teen turns the tables in the most epic way possible. Stay tuned, because this story is full of drama, surprises, and a twist you'll never forget. Lena's room was a whirlwind of color and creativity. Posters of anime characters, comic book heroes, and fantasy landscapes covered every wall. Her desk was scattered with paints, brushes, sewing materials, and beads, the remnants of weeks of preparation for one event she had been anticipating since the start of the school year, the Halloween cosplay party. This wasn't just any party, it was the party. Every student in her high school, from freshmen to seniors, would be there, dressed in the most elaborate costumes they could imagine. And Lena had poured her heart into hers. Her costume was extraordinary, a character from her favorite anime series, complete with flowing layers of fabric in deep purples and shimmering gold, intricate embroidery on the sleeves, and a long wavy wig she had styled herself. Even her makeup had been carefully designed to match the character, with smoky eyes, metallic highlights, and a hint of glitter that would catch the lights of the party perfectly. She stood in front of the mirror, spinning slowly. She felt powerful, elegant, and ready to impress. Her best friends, Amara and Sophie, had been texting her all week, hyping her up. "Lena, you're going to slay it!" Amara had written. Sophie added, "Everyone is going to be obsessed with your costume. Don't let anyone dull your sparkle." Lena smiled at their messages. Their support meant the world to her. Despite the nerves gnawing at the edge of her excitement, she felt a spark of confidence. But Lena was no stranger to the subtle currents of tension in high school. She was one of the only black students in her grade, and while most of her peers were friendly, there were a few who had never learned kindness. A trio of white girls, part of the so-called popular clique, had made it their habit to mock anyone they deemed different. Lena had heard whispers of their latest antics at school, snide comments in the hallways, social media posts meant to embarrass students, but she had hoped that tonight, at least, she would be free from their cruelty. She put on her shoes and adjusted the finishing touches on her costume. Her father, a busy billionaire who often traveled for work, had called earlier that day to wish her luck. He had always been her biggest supporter, quietly ensuring that she had every opportunity to follow her passions. Though he wasn't physically present often, his influence was felt everywhere, from the art supplies she could afford to the confidence he instilled in her. Lena's younger brother, Malik, peeked into the room. "Wow, you look epic," he said, eyes wide. "Are you going to win Best Costume?" "I hope so," Lena said, smiling. "But it's not about winning. It's about having fun." She adjusted her wig and grabbed her bag, carefully slipping in her phone, lipstick, and a small mirror. Tonight, she would let herself shine, no matter what anyone else thought. The drive to the party was short, but Lena felt every second of anticipation stretch longer. When they arrived, the venue took her breath away. The hall was enormous, transformed into a Halloween wonderland. Purple and orange lights bathed the walls, fog rolled gently across the floor, and giant fake cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Tables were laden with cupcakes shaped like pumpkins, candy bowls overflowing with chocolate, and a punch fountain that glowed eerily. A DJ booth at the far end of the room thumped with a mix of pop hits and spooky remixes, the music vibrating through the floorboards. Her friends led her through the crowd, introducing her to familiar faces and new classmates. Everyone seemed to be immersed in the magic of the night, laughing, dancing, and taking selfies. Lena felt a thrill run through her. This was exactly what she had imagined, a night full of energy, color, and creativity. But then she noticed the group she had been dreading. From across the hall, the trio of white girls, the ones who had tormented her for months, were standing together, whispering and laughing. Their eyes locked on Lena as she approached, and she felt a familiar tightening in her chest. She tried to focus on her friends, but the tension was undeniable. The girls smirked as Lena passed. Well, well, look who decided to show up, the tallest one said, loud enough for nearby students to hear. I didn't know Halloween was a blackface competition this year, the second one added, snickering. The third rolled her eyes and gave a dismissive laugh. Lena's friends tried to interject. Ignore them, Amara whispered. They're not worth it. But Lena felt the weight of their stares and whispers. Other students were beginning to notice the confrontation, their eyes flicking between Lena and the trio. The DJ's music thumped on, oblivious to the tension building near the punch table. Seriously, Lena? You actually think you can pull that off? One of the girls sneered, stepping closer. She flicked her fingers at the shimmering fabric of Lena's costume, trying to disrupt her carefully crafted look. Lena's heart pounded. She could feel the blush rising on her cheeks. She had worked so hard for this night, and here were these girls trying to ruin it. Her friends stood beside her, but even their presence couldn't fully shield her from the humiliation. Before she could respond, the girls shoved her toward the edge of the room, laughing cruelly as Lena stumbled slightly. A few nearby students looked on awkwardly, unsure whether to intervene. Lena tried to steady herself, taking a deep breath, trying to hold on to the excitement she had felt just moments ago. For a moment, she wondered if she should leave. The humiliation stung, but she refused to let it define her. She squared her shoulders, reminding herself that she was here to enjoy the night, not to cater to the cruelty of a few mean girls. Taking another deep breath, Lena glanced at her phone, considering texting her dad. He would know what to do. But she hesitated, not wanting to seem like she couldn't handle the situation. Instead, she focused on the glowing lights, the laughter of her friends, and the magical energy of the Halloween night. Then, just as she was beginning to regain her composure, the DJ announced a costume contest. Lena's heart skipped a beat. This was her chance to shine, to show everyone the hard work she had put into her outfit. She straightened her costume, adjusted her wig, and walked toward the stage, ignoring the whispers and snickers behind her. As she moved through the crowd, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. This was her moment. The trio of bullies glared at her, their mouths forming silent curses, but Lena kept her eyes forward. She was determined not to let them ruin the night, not when she had worked so hard to be here, to express herself, and to enjoy the party she had been dreaming about for months. The stage lights bathed her in a warm glow as she stepped up. And for the first time that night, Lena felt the thrill of the crowd's attention. Whispers turned into murmurs of admiration. Some students pointed at her costume, whispering to their friends. The girls' smirks faltered slightly, their confidence shaken by the unexpected reaction. Lena's friends cheered loudly, and even some classmates who had been unsure of what to say clapped politely. She felt a surge of pride. This was what she had envisioned, the magical, exhilarating feeling of being recognized and appreciated for her creativity and effort. And yet, in the back of her mind, she knew that the night was far from over. The trio of bullies would not give up easily, and she could sense the tension still lingering in the air. Lena took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of excitement and determination. Whatever happened next, she was ready. This was her night, and no one, not even a group of cruel girls, could take it away from her. Lena had barely finished admiring her reflection on the stage when she felt a sharp, unwelcome nudge from behind. Turning, she saw the trio of bullies, Madeline, Blair, and Tiffany, smirking, their eyes glinting with mischief. The moment had passed for some, but for them, the party was a new stage for cruelty. Wow, Madeline said, her voice dripping with fake admiration. Look at all that glitter. Did it take forever to glue all that on? She laughed loudly, making sure others nearby could hear. Blair rolled her eyes. It's amazing how confident some people are, even when they clearly shouldn't be. Tiffany, the shortest but sharpest of the three, added, I think the wig is the best part. It almost distracts from, everything else, she sneered, gesturing vaguely at Lena's face. Lena's friends stepped in immediately. Hey, back off! She looks amazing, Amara said firmly, standing tall despite her own nerves. But the bullies weren't intimidated. Oh, please, Madeline replied. We're just being honest. You really think you belong here? The words cut deeper than Lena expected. All the excitement and energy she had felt upon arriving at the party seemed to drain away in an instant. She could feel the stares of surrounding students. Some were sympathetic, but many were just curious, watching the drama unfold. Lena's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of anger, embarrassment, and disbelief. The DJ's music shifted, a fast remix of a popular Halloween track, and Lena tried to move with the beat. Hoping the crowd would distract her from the confrontation, she twirled and posed, her costume flowing elegantly, glitter catching the stage lights. For a brief moment she felt free, her creativity and confidence momentarily reclaiming her joy. But the trio wasn't done. They whispered, nudged each other, and then made their move. Blair flicked a piece of Lena's wig, causing a few strands to fall across her shoulder. "Oops," she said, laughing loudly. "Guess your hair couldn't survive the party." Madeline and Tiffany laughed, the sound sharp and cruel, echoing across the hall. Lena froze. Her friends rushed to help, but the crowd seemed to hesitate, unsure how to react. Some whispered to their friends, while others simply watched. The tension thickened like fog. "Why don't you just leave?" Tiffany taunted, stepping closer. "Nobody here wants to see—" Whatever this is, Lena's mind raced. She wanted to shout, to defend herself, but the words caught in her throat. The embarrassment stung. Her vision blurred slightly as she fought to hold back tears. She felt trapped, surrounded by a sea of judgmental eyes, the bullies' laughter ringing in her ears. Trying to regain control, Lena took a step back, accidentally bumping into the punch table. A small cascade of glowing orange punch spilled across the floor. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The bullies seized the moment. "Oh my gosh," Madeline exclaimed, feigning shock. "Are you seriously that clumsy?" Blair giggled. "I knew you'd ruin something eventually." Tiffany leaned closer, whispering loudly enough for others to hear. "I think she's allergic to fun." Lena felt her cheeks burn with humiliation. She wanted to vanish, to escape the room entirely. Her carefully planned night, the moment she had been dreaming about, was crumbling in front of her eyes. She could hear her friends trying to comfort her, but the humiliation was relentless. Feeling defeated, Lena turned toward the exit. The trio of bullies followed, sneering, whispering insults under their breath, and occasionally calling out cruel jokes. The crowd parted just enough to watch her leave. Some students looked uncomfortable. Others looked entertained. The energy of the party had shifted. What had been a night of fun and celebration was now charged with tension and cruelty. Outside, Lena paused, taking a shaky breath. The cool night air felt like a balm against her burning cheeks. She pulled out her phone, contemplating calling her father. She had never been one to ask for help in these situations, but this wasn't just a minor incident. This was blatant, public humiliation. Her father always taught her that standing up for herself was important, but sometimes, she realized, having someone powerful on your side could make all the difference. As she composed a quick text, the trio of bullies appeared at the doorway, blocking her path. "Where do you think you're going?" Madeline asked mockingly. Blair added, "You think you can just leave and forget this?" "Sorry, Lena, you don't get to escape our spotlight." The words were sharp, but Lena refused to let them dominate her. Instead, she stood tall, straightened her costume, and met their eyes with as much calm and dignity as she could muster. The roar of the luxury car's engine cut through the night like a thunderclap, immediately drawing the attention of everyone at the Halloween party. Heads turned, whispers spread, and even the DJ paused mid-song, squinting toward the entrance. The trio of bullies, Madeline, Blair, and Tiffany, froze in place, their laughter dying in their throats as the sleek, matte black vehicle rolled to a stop. Lena's father stepped out. Tall, impeccably dressed, and radiating authority, he moved with a calm confidence that demanded attention. Even the bravest partygoers couldn't help but stare. The bullies blinked repeatedly, their smug expressions replaced with disbelief. The girl they had tried to humiliate, Lena, was now accompanied by a man whose presence alone could command a room. "Lena," he said warmly but with a hint of steel in his voice. "Are you ready to go somewhere better?" A hush fell over the crowd. Lena's friends gasped. Some of the onlookers whispered among themselves, barely believing what they were seeing. And the bullies? Their mouths opened and closed, but no sound came out. They had expected embarrassment and humiliation to dominate the night. Instead, Lena's father had turned the tables in a way they had never imagined. Without another word, Lena gracefully slid into the car. The door closed behind her with a quiet authority, leaving the trio of bullies staring, pale and stunned. The engine purred, and the car pulled away, leaving the party in shocked silence. As they drove, Lena's nerves settled, replaced by a rush of exhilaration. Her father glanced at her, a reassuring smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Don't worry," he said. "Tonight you get your night. No interruptions, no cruelty, just celebration." By the time they arrived at the new location, Lena's jaw dropped. Her father had spared no expense, a private estate bathed in golden lights, lavish decorations themed perfectly for Halloween, and an elegant dance floor with a professional DJ. Tables overflowed with gourmet treats, candy displays and signature cocktails for the adults. Photo booths, themed backdrops, and live performers turned the estate into a Halloween wonderland far beyond anything Lena had ever imagined. Her friends screamed in delight. Amara grabbed Lena's hand, pulling her toward the dance floor. This is insane," she shouted. Sophie was already photographing everything, snapping selfies with Lena in her incredible costume. "We can't believe this is real," she said, and then they saw them, the bullies. Madeline, Blair, and Tiffany had been included in the guest list, but now, standing at the edge of the estate's grand entrance, their smug arrogance had vanished. They glanced around nervously, realizing that their attempts to humiliate Lena had not only failed, they had backfired spectacularly. Lena's father approached them calmly, his voice steady and controlled. "I understand there have been some misunderstandings tonight," he said politely but firmly. "It's never acceptable to treat someone poorly, especially when they've done nothing to deserve it. I hope this night teaches everyone a lesson about respect, kindness, and empathy." The bullies exchanged glances, guilt and shame written clearly across their faces. They had anticipated power and fear in this confrontation. Instead, they found grace, confidence, and a subtle but undeniable authority that reminded them of the consequences of cruelty. Meanwhile, Lena felt a rush of triumph unlike anything she had experienced. The humiliation of the party, the whispers, the jokes, the shove toward the exit, was now completely erased. The music pulsed, lights shimmered across the dance floor, and her friends surrounded her with laughter, excitement, and admiration. For the first time, Lena truly felt untouchable, not because of her father's wealth, but because of her strength, her resilience, and the way she had reclaimed the night for herself. The trio of bullies attempted to mingle, awkward and uncomfortable, but they couldn't escape the realization that their behavior had been on full display, and that Lena's confidence had completely overshadowed them. Every glance they stole toward her costume, the laughter of her friends, and the extravagant party setup reinforced the truth. Lena had turned the tables, and they had no power over her. As the night progressed, Lena danced, posed for photos, and enjoyed every moment with her friends. The estate was alive with laughter, music, and celebration. Her father watched from the side, a quiet smile on his face, proud of the way Lena handled herself. She hadn't needed him to intervene directly in the conflict. She had stood tall, but his presence had ensured that the night remained hers, free from further cruelty. At one point, Lena caught Madeline staring at her from across the room. Their eyes met briefly, and Lena offered a small, confident smile. The subtle gesture spoke volumes. She wasn't angry, she wasn't scared, and she wasn't the same girl they had tried to humiliate. She was stronger, braver, and in control of her own story. Blair and Tiffany avoided her gaze, looking guilty, embarrassed, and quietly reflective. Even without words, the lesson was clear. Lena's poise, the support of her friends, and the sheer scale of her father's generosity had demonstrated that cruelty and jealousy would never triumph over confidence, kindness, and resilience. The DJ shifted the music to a dramatic, high-energy track. Lena grabbed Amara and Sophie, pulling them onto the dance floor. They twirled, laughed, and posed for selfies, their joy uncontainable. The bullies lingered awkwardly at the edges, forced to witness the triumph they had tried and failed to prevent. By the end of the night, Lena stood at the center of the estate's grand entrance, costume shimmering under the golden lights. Surrounded by her friends, laughter, and celebration, she realized something important. Being underestimated, being bullied, and being humiliated were challenges she could overcome. Strength wasn't about power or wealth. It was about confidence, resilience, and the ability to rise above cruelty with grace. Her father approached, handing her a sparkling drink. "You did very well tonight," he said. "I'm proud of you," Lena smiled, raising her glass. "Thanks, Dad. But this night isn't just about me. It's about everyone who believed in me." In that moment, she understood that true victory didn't come from revenge or retaliation. It came from reclaiming joy, confidence, and celebrating life despite the cruelty of others. And tonight, Lena had done exactly that. The bullies, witnessing Lena's triumph, left quietly, their arrogance replaced with reflection, guilt, and a newfound respect for her strength. Lena, on the other hand, danced freely, laughed loudly, and embraced a night that was truly hers, a night where she proved that nothing, not even cruelty, could dim her light. The music continued to pulse through the grand estate, but Lena no longer focused on the lights or the decorations. Instead, she felt an overwhelming sense of triumph and peace. The humiliation of the school Halloween party, the whispered insults, the shoves, the cruel laughter, felt like a distant memory. Tonight, she had reclaimed control. Her friends were at her side, cheering, dancing, and laughing, their smiles reflecting the joy Lena felt in her heart. Amara nudged her playfully. "I still can't believe your dad did all this for you." "This is insane!" Sophie nodded, holding up her phone. "We're documenting everything. This is going on social media. People need to know what real power and style look like." Lena laughed. "It's not about showing off. It's about celebrating the people who supported me and the things I love." She glanced toward the edge of the estate where Madeline, Blair, and Tiffany lingered awkwardly. Their earlier arrogance had evaporated. The trio avoided eye contact, their faces pale with guilt and embarrassment. They had expected to continue tormenting Lena, to feel satisfaction in watching her crumble. Instead, they were forced to watch her shine. Her father approached, standing behind Lena with a proud smile. "You handled yourself remarkably tonight," he said. "I'm proud of the way you stayed confident, even when things got difficult." "That's real strength," Lena smiled warmly. "Thanks, Dad. But I think the real lesson tonight is that kindness and confidence can overpower cruelty without ever having to fight back in anger." He nodded. "Exactly. Remember that, always." Meanwhile, the bullies shifted uncomfortably. Madeline finally spoke, her voice quiet and hesitant. "Lena, we're sorry. We shouldn't have treated you that way." Lena paused, studying their faces. For a moment, she considered their apology, weighing the sincerity. Then she smiled softly. "Thank you. I hope you learned something tonight. It's never okay to hurt someone because they're different." Blair and Tiffany nodded, the weight of their guilt evident. We do," Blair admitted. Tiffany muttered a quiet, "Me too." It wasn't about revenge. Lena had no desire to humiliate them. The night wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about reclaiming joy, celebrating her creativity, and surrounding herself with people who truly mattered. The party continued into the night. Lena danced with her friends, posed for photos at the extravagant themed booths, and even tried out the live performers' interactive stations. Each moment reminded her that this night, unlike the cruel moments earlier, was fully hers. She could be herself, unapologetically, without fear or shame. At one point, her father joined her on the dance floor, moving gracefully but with a hint of playful humor. "Ready to show them how it's done?" he asked. Lena laughed, linking her arm with his. Together they danced, watched by a crowd who admired their confidence and elegance. The bullies watched from a distance, unable to interrupt, unable to reclaim any control over the situation. They had learned an invaluable lesson. Cruelty might feel powerful in the moment, but confidence, kindness, and support from those who care can render it powerless. As the night wound down, Lena took a quiet moment alone on the balcony overlooking the estate's gardens. The cool night air brushed her face, and she felt a sense of calm she hadn't experienced all evening. The chaos, the humiliation, the fear, all of it had been transformed into triumph. She pulled out her phone and snapped a photo of the glowing decorations, the fog drifting over the gardens, and the laughing faces of her friends in the background. She sent it to her group chat with a simple caption, "Best night ever." Amara replied immediately, "You deserve this so much." Sophie added, "Unreal. I can't even—" "Your dad is a legend." Lena smiled at the messages. The night had been about more than costumes and parties. It had been about power, resilience, and reclaiming joy. Her father joined her on the balcony, leaning slightly against the railing. "You see?" he asked gently. "Being underestimated isn't the end of the world. How you respond is what defines you." Lena nodded, looking out at the twinkling lights. "I know now. Strength isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving myself right. I don't need anyone else to validate me." Her father smiled, pride evident in his eyes. "Exactly. And never forget, I'll always be here if you need me. But tonight, you proved something important. You're unstoppable, just as you are." The bullies eventually left the party quietly, heads hung low, processing the lesson they had learned the hard way. They hadn't just witnessed Lena's triumph. They had been forced to confront their own behavior, the hurt they caused, and the consequences of underestimating someone. Lena watched them go, feeling a sense of closure. She wasn't angry. She wasn't vengeful. She simply knew that her joy, her creativity, and her confidence were untouchable. The rest of the night was hers to celebrate fully. As the final song played, Lena danced with her friends, her costume sparkling in the golden light, her laughter mingling with theirs. This was her victory, not over the bullies, but over the fear and humiliation they had tried to impose. She had transformed a night that could have been a nightmare into a night of triumph, love, and celebration. By the time the party ended, Lena had a new sense of purpose. She understood that life would always have challenges, that cruelty could appear unexpectedly, but with resilience, creativity, and support from those who care, no obstacle was insurmountable. She stepped into her father's car once again, this time with a heart full of gratitude, a mind brimming with confidence, and a spirit that no one, not even the cruelest bullies, could dim.